Hi guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. I'm at the shop. I'm working late tonight. We've just closed the door. We've kicked all the customers out, you know, all those pesky people that put piles of money on our counter. We've had a pretty good day. But I'm going to start doing some videos here because it's convenient. I want to do a lot of unboxing videos for you guys, mainly because I need to get through the stuff. I need to get more stock in the shop. And by showing you guys, it kind of keeps me motivated to keep on it, to keep pricing stuff. And it's a win-win, and the customers get to buy some cool stuff. So I was going to unbox a box of tools tonight. That will be soon because I had an interruption today. A guy comes in, as happens often. He says, I've got some stuff. I don't want it. Do you want it? I don't want anything for it. And that happens a lot. And he said, well, look, if you didn't want it, I was going to throw it to the tip. So this is a real-life, genuine saving stuff from landfill. I said, no matter, as long as it's not actual rubbish, like smelly food and, you know, stuff of absolutely no value, we'll deal with it. We might give some away. We might put books on the free book exchange. We might, you know, like for e-waste, I will take it apart or recycle it or something, better than putting it in the bin. Anyway, he brings the stuff in and I'll show you, but there's some pretty good stuff. I just put it around here because we were busy and I haven't had a chance to get to it. And it just amazes me what people throw out, and you wonder how much actually does just go to landfill or goes in a skip. So we've got a stack of books. We'll go through those shortly. And we've got a box of light fittings and a couple of other bits and pieces. Some crockery in that bag and a little, looks like a spice shelf. And this vintage cane commode chair and a little footstool. So that's all it is. It's not worth a fortune. And I have seen people, you know, go through this sort of stuff on the sides of the road, you know, when there's street scrapping in the cities. And of course, most of the guys I watch are just after the scrap metal and they leave all this. But let's go through this. Let's see how much value there is. I reckon the books will add up to a bit. There will be some that I'll put on our free book exchange. The light shades aren't much, but I think they'll still sell. So let's start with the bigger items. And I'll make a list at the end so you can see what it adds up to. And it's just quite surprising. This is a footstool, a lift-up one with storage. It looks like one side has come adrift. Yeah, that'll just push back. It just has staples. It's probably 1970s, early 70s perhaps, maybe late 60s. Masonite's a bit of a giveaway sign with that. It has been stapled, which you don't usually get in the older stuff. So, and also if you look at the screws there, they've got Phillips head screws in them holding the hinges. So I would probably say 70s. And that's a good way of dating stuff. If you see masonite, if you see Phillips head screws, if you see staples, 1970s is probably around about the right era. Also, it's that sort of common vinyl that you used to get back then. What's it worth? Well, I think I might just put a couple of tacks in this just to make it complete again. Nice little storage footstool box. It's not overly dirty. It's not badly damaged or anything. I'm just going to put $10 on it, given that it was a freebie. And I think we'll sell it at 10, no problems. The other big thing was this commode chair. And if you don't know what a commode is, let me give you a hint. Yes, that's right. It was often used, these were often used for elderly people that couldn't make their way to the toilet easily. Or perhaps, well, I guess in the early days, a lot of farmhouses had outdoor toilets. Perhaps this was an option in the bedroom. We won't go into too much detail, but that's what it is. It would have had probably a stoneware pot that sat under there with a lid. What date is this? Well, they were used sort of mid-1900s and a bit earlier. This looks like it has a masonite piece, but that could well have been replaced. There's no other hardware to look at. It's all nailed. The cane was sort of popular. Well, cane was popular right through to the very early 1900s. But I'd say this is around mid-century, maybe 1940s, maybe 1950s. And what's it worth? Well, they're pretty hard to sell. People generally don't use them as commodes anymore. And they're probably not the most comfortable seat. I do sell them to people that put them on their veranda and maybe even put a pot plant in the hole there. So just a bit of a, you know, a bit of a rustic look. The caneware is kind of popular as far as rustic looks go, and chairs are always good on the veranda. So I'm probably going to put about $20 on that. We'll move it quickly. I don't want to put it in and out of the shop too many times. But $20 on that, I reckon. No worries. Okay, while Christine's not here, let's take over her counter and we'll go through some of the smaller stuff. Okay, this, in here actually we have, looks like some Jim Beam playing cards. I don't know if they're unused or not. Let's have a quick look. No, they're not in the plastic wrapper, so they, we'd probably count them up to see if they're all there, but I'm not going to muck around with those. They can just be in a $1 box. I put a lot of assorted stuff in the dollar box and people grab it. This item is basically like a coal scuttle. It's a reproduction of an older fireside pot. It would have had a porcelain handle here. It's been broken out. As I said, it's a reproduction. It's probably a copper art 1980s version. It is quite corroded. It will be actually copper, and the legs and the fittings will be brass, but there's not a lot of weight in it. It's quite light, very thin gauge. I'm not going to scrap it because as scrap it's probably only going to be worth a couple of dollars, maybe $3 or so. We're going to have no troubles getting 10 or 15 for that, just purely because someone will like the old rustic look and they'll put a pot plant in it. So we do sell a lot of stuff as garden art. I'd probably go $15 on that. And this item is Indigenous Australian artwork, although it will be just a piece made for the tourist market. It's not an original early one. It's been made out of a hollow piece of wood, which is probably what they used to do. I'm not sure that it's a full didgeridoo. It's like a half one, so perhaps it's only a didgeridoo or a do. Really nice artwork. It looks like it's been hand done, but I don't think it's necessarily authentic Aboriginal. It's probably just a tourist piece. But given that it's real timber and you could possibly play it, I'm not going to try. I reckon we might put $20 on that. It's a nice decorator item, so that's pretty cool. It could double as a club. Okay, getting rid of the rest of the big things. This is, I think it's just a spice rack. It's a little shelf. By the looks of the dust circles here, it's had spice jars in there. It's actually in good nick, and someone's done, I think that's home done. Quite a nice rosella picture. I guess it's a rosella, and they look like olives. But it's not in bad condition. It's been around for a little while. It's got little staples in it, or they look like a nail gun type construction method, so that's going to date it relatively recently. It does appear to be real timber. Yes, definitely real timber. There's some grain work there. So when you're dating things, you really need to look at how they're constructed. This has certainly been constructed with like automatic nailing of some sort. So it hasn't got any antique value, but it's kind of nice. And there is some initials there of the artist. I think we'd probably get, we'd probably just put $10 on it. I'm sure it'll sell well for $10. I think they call that kind of folk art when people do their own paintings on things. So yep, not a bad piece, $10. And we'll get into this shopping bag now. It's quite heavy and it looks like we've got a hammer, and what a rugged looking mallet that is. That's quite heavy. I suggest that's probably red gum. Very roughly made. I'm not sure if it's an original but I think it's had a lot of work. So I don't think it's like a school project or just a hobbyist. I think it's actually been made to use as a mallet, and it's probably quite old. The handle is some sort of oak, I'd say, by the look of the grain, and certainly the weight in the head, you can feel it. It's got to be a red gum. So that's quite a nice piece. I'm just going to put 10 on that, but I'd imagine that will sell pretty quickly. Now we do have a bit of crockery in this bag, and I did spot some of this when the guy was unloading it. Now this is Royal Dalton Bunnykins, and it's quite popular. It sells pretty well. I'm not sure what current prices are on it, but there was a few pieces in here. Where are we? Here we go. We have an egg cup and a nice little mug. It doesn't appear to be damaged at all. Oh, we have a little pin there. So that's going to be quite valuable. I'll probably just check eBay completed items to see what this stuff's bringing these days. I would estimate, without looking, I'd say probably almost $50 for those three pieces. But I will check eBay before I write down some prices. But it's in good condition. It's genuine Royal Dalton Bunnykins. I'm not sure how old it is. Probably more modern. Some of the Bunnykin stuff does go back very early. But even so, it's genuine. So we'll check a price on that. But that's probably the best value out of this whole lot. This one is a children's plate Peter Rabbit. It's Wedgwood. but it's quite modern. It's actually got 1991 date on there. So being Wedgwood would probably put $5 on that, but yeah, modern crockery we don't usually get very much for. Now what else is in here? We have just a tin of something. Petroleum jelly. Oh no, it's stamps. Look at that. So they've just been torn off an envelope. There's not much value in stamps. Stamp collectors, they're still around, but you don't get much money for stuff. So I think there's some stamp albums. We might make a bulk lot of all the stamps. Here's a stamp album here. Let's see what's in it. I haven't looked in here at all. It looks like it's just the album. So there's no stamps in there at all. Oh, here we go. Yes, there's some at the back. They're Australian stamps. They've all been used. Sometimes the value in stamps these days is just in the unused ones, just to use them as postage. There's so little value in them. There's some pretty early ones there, but I don't think there's much value. It's a very specialised area, and there's only really such a minor amount of stamps that are actually worth much. I don't bother wasting my time researching them all. I'm just going to estimate the value of them in the shop, and if someone gets a good buy, well, good luck to them. We have another stamp album here. Okay, this looks like it's a specialist stamp set with a book, and the stamps are in here, and they're all unused stamps. Don't know how they're stuck on, but I can feel them. They're definite real stamps and they're unused. So at very minimum, I guess, we can add up the value of the stamps and get a value on them that way, for just purely for postage. But I will check that one on eBay in case that's a collectible one. It's the America's Cup in Stamps, 1987. So we'll check that one on eBay as well. If I had to guess, there's probably like $20 or $30 worth of stamps in here. Oh, maybe not quite that much. They're all 18 cents, 30 cents. They might only be $10 to $15 worth of stamps. I think it'd be like a $10 book, but I'll check that as well. If it's nothing special, I'll just add it with all the rest of the stamps. We have another stamp album at the bottom, but there's a few other things in here first. There's an old, looks like a hair tonic bottle or a perfume bottle. It's clearly been dug up. Not much value. It's probably 1960s. Not worth washing. It's kind of a cute bottle, but I'm not going to wash it up. They can go in the recycle bin. At best, we'd get $5 for it, and I don't have time to wash those things up. We have a cigarette case. It's a nice looking one. Oh, the clip needs work. Oh no, there we go. So maybe a slight adjustment. It's just for holding cigarettes so that you can put them in your pocket and they don't get crushed. Quite a nice design. It's probably only chromed steel. I'll just try a magnet on it. Very, very rarely you can get them in sterling silver, and they will be hallmarked, but the easiest way to tell is with a magnet. So that's just chromed steel. I might still get $10 for it. It's undamaged, it's not squashed, and I'll just make sure that catch stays worth there, but $10 I reckon on that one. What else is in this bag? We have some brackets from some shelving. Well, I do have some of this shelving at home, so they're going to my shed. Getting to the bottom of this bag, we have some cards. What are these? They look like Kiss, the band Kiss. And, oh yeah, they're collectible cards. I don't know who produced them. It says circa 2001 Kiss Catalogue Limited. It's got a website. So I don't expect they're going to be very valuable, but I will quickly check eBay to see if they sell for much. But I'll probably put them in a plastic bag and put $5 on the set, and someone's bound to buy them. We have a little Thomas the Tank Engine birthday badge. That's just going in the $1 tub. And the last thing in this bag then is the other stamp album. And it's quite a big one. And it looks like it's probably foreign stamps, this one. Oh yeah, look at them. Oh no, there's Australian ones. That's a pretty big collection actually. Some quite old Australian stamps here. Still Australian. And oh, we've got some foreign stamps in the back, a lot of empty pages. And these are from, where are we, Great Britain, Spain, New Zealand, India, Czechoslovakia. So it looks like a lot of these are sort of 1970s, maybe 80s, back when stamp collecting was still a lot more popular than it is nowadays, and consequently these are very hard to sell. As I mentioned earlier, there may be a rare stamp in here, but I'm not going to spend hours trying to find out if there is or not, because odds are there isn't. I'm probably going to put all this stamp gear together, certainly these three. I will check this one, but most likely this one as well. And I'm probably going to put $50 in the lot, and I reckon someone will take a punt with that. If it sits here for too long, it'll be cheaper. So that's all we have in this bag, and in the interests of being a total recycler, we will use this bag in the shop to give some goods away in. So when we offer carry bags here, we use second-hand bags. Okay, the big box now before we get onto the books. We have another bottle here. This one's relatively local. I know the logo, and it's from a couple of nearby towns. It's 1960s, possibly 70s. It would be just a 7-ounce lemonade or something like that. They're very common, these ones. Probably barely worth washing up. Oh, it's got a chip on the lip too, so I think that can just go in the recycle bin. Even in excellent condition, I would struggle to get $5 for that. We have some metal here. This one is a boot puller in the shape of a bug. Basically, you put one foot on there and the heel of the other in the antenna, and you pull your boots off. Some of these can be worth quite a bit. This one's a reproduction. It's actually cast aluminium, and I can tell that from the weight. They're usually cast iron, and if it was cast iron, our magnet would stick. But it's definitely cast aluminium. But too good to go to scrap. I'll give that a quick wash, and we might get $10 for that. There are some around here branded Furphy, and many of you Australians will know of the company Furphy, and some of those are worth quite a lot of money, early Furphy stuff. There's possibly some similar made by other early cast iron foundries, but this one is a reproduction. Here we have just a little mail holder, like an envelope holder for the office desk or something. Very, very modern. Got a barcode. It's actually got a price on it, $14.95 for a folded piece of metal. I guess I could try and get $5 for it, but yeah, that's very expensive. $14.95 Australian, $17.50 New Zealand, $69 Hong Kong. And what's SGD? I don't know. $17.50. Made in China. Well, it's a lot of money for a piece of tin. I'll try and get $5 for it, see how we go. Let's get through the rest of this box. This is, speaking of reproductions, this sign is metal. It is a metal sign. I think it's steel. Yes, magnetic. It's advertising waffle cones, 5 cents. It's possibly an American advertisement, and it's just been reproduced. You can tell by the way it's printed, and they do fake rusting on them. That's not even real rust, that's just colour of the paint to make it look like rust. But also it's got a barcode on the back. It's from Typo, which is a chain store here in Australia. I don't know if it's elsewhere in the world. It does give a price too, everyone can work that out. $19.95 Australian. Look, I'll put $10 on it, someone will buy it for their shed. Now all the rest of this box is light fittings. Now they do need a wash up. They're vintage. That one's got some hardware in it. And some of these go quite well on top of lamps too. I usually get about $5 each for these, and it makes it worthwhile washing for me. These little globe ones can go on top of some of your early lamps, but they're very common light shade, and I guess they get broken a bit because people come and buy them. I usually just put $5 on them. If you're looking at these and you want to know if they're older or not, the older ones have a ground glass edge here, so the newer ones are moulded, and this will be smooth. And also, I'm not sure if you can see it there, it's actually what they call cased glass. It's a clear glass on the outside, and there's a definite line where it's actually a milky glass on the inside. So it's 2 layers of glass, and you only get that on the older ones. It's probably not antique, but it's definitely not modern, and you can tell it's not super modern by all the dust on it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and the larger one I just took out, and there's another larger one here. It's quite heavy, that one. It's got a bit of hardware in it still, and it's got a pattern around it. It's probably 1970s, and it's much thicker glass, this one. I think we'd probably only still put $5 on that. I'll round up all the hardware later too, because that'll go to our jars of hardware. And these brackets can probably go with, yeah, I think we'll put them with the light shades. So that, yeah, that fits there. So we can actually sell them with the bracket, and I'll still only ask $5. I think that bracket, even though it looks brass, I think that bracket will be just steel. If it was brass, I'd probably throw that in my brass bin. We'll just check that with a magnet, and yes, it's just steel. So we'll put these brackets on the shades and sell them at $5 for the complete unit. And we also have the shade for one of the bigger lamps, I think. No, I think that's of something different, but I think that one's aluminium. Yeah, non-magnetic, so it doesn't suit a shade that's here, so we might just put this straight into our aluminium bins. And that pretty well winds up the light shade. I will list all these with the prices so we can have a look at what it adds up to there. I'll put them back in the box for now because I don't have time to wash them. Okay, let's get through these books now. The last of this deal. There's a whole heap of boxer magazines. Now I believe these came with videos originally, and I didn't get any videos with them. I don't think they're of much value. They're all relatively modern. They've all got barcodes on them. So rather than trying to do much with those, I think I'll just put them all on the free book exchange and someone can grab them. I don't want too many magazines floating around the shop. They take up too much space. I don't think there's much value in those. Now with books, I've got to admit sometimes I judge a book by its cover. I do put some aside to check through eBay, but I don't research everything. It just takes too long. Some of the war stuff can be interesting, and larger coffee table books like these, hardcovers, nice, interesting books will sell, and war stuff tends to sell okay. I'll probably just check in case it's rare, because every now and again some books can do really well on eBay, and I'll put it aside for future eBaying. But look, I could go on a gut feel and just put $5 on that, but I might just run a quick check on eBay on that one. Same with a lot of the other ones. I have had this one before. It's an ABC television publication. I'm sure that's not going to be much value at all. It might make $5, but these are pretty common type of books. It's probably 1980s, maybe late 70s. Those of you in Australia will probably remember Harry Butler, 1979. I think that's going to be a book exchange book. As I said, we don't want to waste too much time on these. Oh, there's a follow-up. So maybe I could put $5 on the pair. Someone might buy them. We might try that, seeing so there's a pair of them. This one's a better looking book, and this is one that I would expect will sell quite well. As I said, military stuff tends to be fairly popular. It's a nice big book, lots of interesting pictures and stuff in there. I will check eBay in case it's a rare print one, or a hard to get edition. It's probably 1980s again, maybe, or 1991, so I'm close with my dates. I'll check that one quickly, but I would think that could go $10 or even $20 and still sell. History of American Slavery, another nice big book. It's got a dust jacket on it. It's actually a quality book. I'm not sure how the topic will be, how popular it will be in Australia. 1998, so not overly old. I would say that's a $10 book, but again, I'll check that. World of Military Weapons, I reckon that would have a bit of interest. Some people, the dust cover's pretty rough. This looks a bit older, it's probably 70s. Actually, it's a little bit damaged. 1988, all right, it's had a hard life. But I still think that'll sell. They can go in that pile. We'll do a quick check. And, this is World War II album. That goes with the World War I album. So they're a nice set. They might well bring a fair bit per set. We'll check them, but I reckon they'll add up to a bit. This large one is an atlas. It's actually Reader's Digest. Sorry, you guys are looking at all the books upside down. Atlases I find very difficult to sell. Most people just get on Google Maps these days. It's a bit rough as well. I think we'll just put that on the book exchange. And we'll put Harry over there to check that. Leyland Brothers, a more early Australian adventurers, I guess you'd call them, and that's a lot of wildlife in there. Flora and fauna. Oh, it actually says wildlife. I don't think that's worth selling really. Again, it might struggle to get 5, but it is rough. We'll put that on the book exchange. The Military Atlas of World War II. Well, being military, I think that's going to have some value. We'll check that one again over this pile. So I don't waste too much time searching through books. Animal World Encyclopedia. This is a reference book probably from the 70s, I'm guessing, 1967. Reprinted in 81, so a little bit more recent. Yeah, that may have a bit of interest, but without any nice dust cover, I'm judging it by the cover. It looks a bit grotty. I think that's going to be the book exchange. This is a sort of book that could do better on eBay. Kokoda, World War II, obviously. Printed in 2004. If it's a rarer edition, it might do really well on eBay. I think it'd be a $10 book in the shop though. So again, we'll check that one. This one is an older one, my first book of baby animals, and it's lost its dust jacket. It's quite rough. It will be 60s or 70s. 77, but I think that's book exchange. Amazing Australia, Animal Tracks. I'm sure I said, Amazing Australia was a series. Animal Tracks. It's only a very thin book, this one. I don't think there's much value there. Yeah, I reckon. It might have some interest to bushwalkers, so maybe we'll put 5 on that. Australian Fishes. So I've had success selling fish reference books before, so this one might be worth checking. It is a bit rough. It's been taped. And let's guess on a date, I think 70s. I kind of just look at the printing and the font styles. It doesn't even give a date. 1978. So, yep, we're on a winner there. I think that's worth pricing, though. And the last one in this pile is a Driver's Atlas of Australia. These things, as I said, go out of date so quickly. That's going on the book exchange for free. The last of the books, let's whip through them. Another Reader's Digest one. These nature books are fairly difficult to sell, so that's going on the free book exchange. Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island. It's a more recent edition, but it looks in really good nick, and it's a classic story. Let's find a date in it. 1987. But being a classic book, I reckon we'll get $5 for that. It'll make a good gift. We have 3 books here, look like they're out of a series. A Naked Island, Green Armour, Coast. They would be war books again. Australian War Classics. Alright, so they're worth checking. They're in really good condition. They're only paperbacks, but I think that series might be worth even eBaying. But if not, I reckon we'd probably get 20 the set. We have an older one here that's had some plastic over it. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, another classic. It's an older book, I'm guessing maybe 50s. 61. And it's pretty rough, but it doesn't appear to be falling apart. Probably just a $5 book. We do keep a lot of hardcover novels, back earlier ones, and they do sell, especially when it's a classic, well-known title. So we'll get 5 for that. The Thin Red Line, this is just a paperback. It's a bit rough. I don't think it's worth trying to sell separately. Someone paid $4 for it, maybe at an op shop or a garage sale. Book exchange for that one. And an Australian encyclopedia. It will be dated a bit, as in a bit out of date. Who's the tennis player? Rod Laver. I think this would be 1970s or 80s, maybe 80s. 86, yep. I don't think that's worth the effort to try and sell. I think we'll put that on the book exchange as well. So we've split the books almost in half, reduces the amount of stuff I have to go through. I've given you a rough gut feel prices on these ones, but I'll do a bit of a check and we'll show you the list and I'll mention any standouts, but otherwise they're going to be roughly what I've mentioned, and then we'll get you a total. Just before we move to the notepad, here's a little bit of upcycling. I didn't throw this shade in the aluminium bin. I found an old fitting, and I've got boxes of old fittings. I always keep them. I have boxes of old light globes that work perfectly fine. And of course, being an e-waste scrapper, I have plenty of cords. So that made a pretty cool hanging light. We might hang that up in the kitchen room perhaps, or the kitchen section over there in the distance. So yeah, easy turning, a bit better value than just probably, oh geez, a few cents worth of aluminium. I think that hanging up now, we could probably ask about $20. So yeah, easy upcycle project, very easy to wire up. So I won't add that extra value to the list. In fact, I think I wrote down $5 for the shade. Okay, let's move to the list, and we'll start with the sundries, and prices are pretty much as I quoted. Did we change any of these? I think the Bunnykins said I checked on eBay and I thought 50 was around about right. Turns out it's probably a 1960s era, and they were in very good condition. The Wedgwood plate I upped from 5 to 10. They seem to sell, even though they're not very old. Stamp collection, I fixed the cigarette case, it closes nicely now. I've actually sold the KISS cards first. You know, they've only been in the shop 6 hours and they've gone already. I went a bit higher on the cast aluminium boot puller. They seem to sell for even better money on eBay, but I'm happy just to get 15. I actually sold this mail holder today as well within 6 hours, and yeah, amazing what people buy. And the light shades, I'll give you a quick look at those. We've packed up the shop now, and you can see they all cleaned up really well. I've just got $5 each on those, and that was one of them we put 5 on as well, and I think this other one here. So $5 each on all those, plus that other aluminium shade. So we ended up with 45 for the light shades. So $285 for that stuff that he was going to throw out, and we haven't got to the books yet. How did you go? Did you have a rough guess? It always amazes me what things add up to once you start multiplying them out. Let's go to the books. Pretty well as suggested as well. I did check a few. I upped the World War set. There was World War One and World War Two. I made that 30. But I think everything else was pretty much as I explained, or as I guessed. I checked that Kokoda book, and there were some even selling up to 20 on eBay, but then others were only getting 5. So I think we'll get 10 for that, because of course there's no postage here. And I ended up putting $5 on a lot of those boxing magazines. I didn't want to put them out on the book exchange. Trouble with magazines out there is you get a windy day and they all blow down the street. $140 for books. So, and I reckon almost half of them went on the book exchange for free. So, I could have probably eked a few more dollars out of them here and there. But you may have noticed with my pricing, I tend not to go under $5. And I like to price things in round figures. So if I think something's a little bit better than 5, I'll put 10 on it. I won't go 6 or 7. It just makes it easier for, even when you're making sales, you don't have to muck around with small change. 140 there for the books. What do we have on the others? 285. So that gives us a total of $5 to $425 for stuff that was going to be dumped at the tip. Now, you may say, who in the right mind would throw, a stamp collection to the tip? People do. People just get sick of stuff, and because it's been around them all their lives, they don't see much value in it. Sometimes it's just a cleansing thing for people. And this guy is obviously cleansing as well, but he's been sensible. He offered it to me. He didn't want any money. I asked him a few times. It was actually starting to get awkward. He said, no, I don't want any money. So I'm thinking I might even donate a little bit to the local museum or something. They're after funds for some building improvements at the moment. And I'll mention this guy's name so he gets some sort of credit, even though he probably doesn't want it. But anyway, we like to do the right thing. So thanks for watching, guys. A bit of an epic unboxing, but I must talk too much. They all seem to go for longer than I expect. There wasn't a lot of stuff, but there was pretty good value. And it's not money for nothing, because I did spend quite a few hours cleaning it up. I fixed the cigarette case. I washed up the light fittings. I researched the books, of course. So it does take time. But if someone wanted to sell me this stuff, I would probably offer $50, maybe $100, depending on how much work was involved. I need to make a profit. I'm in business. I'm not a charity. However, I like to be fair to people as well. But when someone comes in and says, have this stuff, and I don't want any money for it, you know, that helps, and particularly in a tough year with the floods and everything, well, it's always nice. But as I said, we might donate a bit to a local charity. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. There's nothing outstanding, nothing super valuable, but it's kind of fun to go through it, show how the value adds up, show how I run my business, and of course, show how this stuff does not need to go to landfill. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. I'll be doing another unboxing soon. I have a guy bringing in a whole pile of e-waste tomorrow. There might be another video. See you soon. Bye for now.